yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, nice.
well, as you know, for me, my weekend is only Sunday, because usually I'm here till late, 9:30 on Saturday. So really, you can't call that a weekend. So it's usually Sunday. But it's a beautifully sunny day on Sunday, but as you said, in the early hours of Sunday for Monday, thunder and lightning, probably the like of which many people have not seen. I mean, there was one instance when the crack, I actually had to get up and check because it sounded as if my window had cracked open, but it wasn't. So I don't even know what that sound was, but it sounded like the shattering of glass. It was quite extraordinary. Yeah, and I looked out and I could see, you'd see the lightning and then you'd hear the thunder. It was quite dramatic stuff, and it went on for quite a long time.
September, it's known to be the month of thunder and lightning.
And lightning, yes.
Because by this time, the rain is saying bye, and
So he puts on a fireworks display to say goodbye.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. So on the program today, we'll take a look at the African code, and we'll talk to Jibril Gando Balde. He will be in the studios here on MPOX, Ministry of Health, the Health Communication Officer. And of course, we'll also talk to Cadet ASP Modu Musa Sisao, Public Relation Officer of the Gambia Police Force, on the recent murder cases in Basse.
No, one murder, one suicide.
And one suicide.
Or one alleged suicide.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so Mamadou Gajaga also will give us an update on the Gambia-Tunisia game. Well, for this game...
An interesting game.
Mr. Ade...
Don't spoil it, but carry on. Yeah.
You remember when this coach was appointed as the Gambia's coach, we said we will go for nothing less than attacks, qualifying for the AFCON.
Well, but that's what we expect because we qualified for the last two. But it wasn't just that. We wanted to qualify playing expansive, attacking football. And that's what he's tried to do. I think for most of us, when we looked at the group, we probably thought Tunisia would be our toughest opponent. And so it's proved thus far. But Gambia's got a decent record against Tunisia.
Absolutely.
Beaten them in the last two.
In the last, yes, exactly.
so there's nothing to fear.
So let's see what will happen. Yeah. And Gajaga will give us updates on this in this regard. Now, we'll take a look at the code, and Mr. Mboj, I'll give you the honor to go through it, because you said you were feeling energized this morning.
Right. So therefore I should be able to read this.
Exactly.
Mr. Balde. This is what we have today. Even though the eyebrow is smaller, it is still older than the beard.
Yeah, I looked at this one. Sometimes I come on here and I say, this one has lost me. And I guess, yes, if you're talking about the same individual, then yes, you're born with your eyebrows and the beards. And I guess it's about, it can be deceptive. Because sometimes when you get older, the beard is old and gray, but your eyebrows tend not to go gray. But nonetheless, they've got the longer kind of lifespan. So it might be about not judging just by appearance alone. Appearances can be deceptive, and don't judge a book by the cover. So the eyebrows look small and maybe they're still dark, whilst the beard is growing, and it's the most noticeable feature. Because your eyebrows, you'd have to look closely to kind of. So there's lots of things that are in there, but it did kind of have me slightly perplexed when I heard it. I don't know what you chaps think.
Same here with me. Just words just started popping up. So it's got something to do with age. The fact that one is older.
Yeah,
what are you trying to tell me there? Age and then wisdom. Does it come in there? Because really, the beard is really more deceptive. I may have a long beard, perhaps even white. Everything could go white, but what does it mean, really? Apparently, there's one Russian proverb that says that if your beard gives knowledge or wisdom, if they were representative of knowledge or wisdom, then all goats would be doctors. I love that.
Because of the beard on the Yes,
Goat's
exactly.
beard.
I
So
understand.
I
Goat's
love
beer,
that.
beer.
Goat
as,
beer.
as we say in Salon. But what's your take on this one?
So this is it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
telling you sometimes it goes beyond looks.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes beyond that. It can look small,
Yeah. Go ahead.
but when you look how productive a certain thing might be, I don't know if I'll pronounce it right. A pocket Hercules, small but strong. It's sort of a
Hercules.
Exactly.
I think it's
Yes,
talking about
so
Hercules.
small but strong,
Yes.
or something like that. You understand?
Right.
You know, so it's telling you it goes beyond looks. I mean, sometimes you can look at an individual, you know, without actually knowing what the individual can do. I mean, it can tell you there are people that, you know, they might not look attractive, but they can be very productive as well. So it goes beyond look. That's my own interpretation.
Small, especially smaller, small people. Yes, they can be productive.
Yes.
Oh God, Hitler was this short.
But very nice.
Stalin, I mean, the great ones, Pol Pot. Oh, we've got some
Napoleon.
fantastic autocrats.
Napoleon.
They were Napoleon. They were called shorties.
Yeah, go ahead.
And apparently, what did Serene Bamba do? Every dusk, he would just round up all the short people because it's not at night they would plot. Doing stuff. So be careful with small.
Right,
know,
right.
They can be very noisy.
very
Small people
dangerous.
can be noisy too.
Don't judge by size or
Don't
appearance.
judge by. I mean, there's another one. Don't judge the book by its cover.
Of course.
You understand? You know, so I mean, it's talking about that.
Yes.
The proverb, it's a bit complex.
It's
not,
complex.
It's not a very easy going proverb.
It's
as
not.
well.
It's one that makes you think, makes you kind of, as we say, crack your brain. When you talk about don't judge a book by the cover, I came up with this one when I was in Sierra Leone. I used to attend a lot of movies. And I dreamt up my own, which said, don't judge a film by its poster.
Yeah.
Because some of them, the posters were so dynamic, and
yeah.
then you'd go in and the film was rubbish. You know, then you think, oh, why did I get swept along by this impressive poster, movie poster? But so don't judge
It
a
reminded
movie
me,
by its
I
poster.
saw a poster. That was a long time when I was a kid.
Right.
I was going to school, and that day I have to skip school.
Right.
To go to the video club.
Ooh.
I did that once.
And what drew you in? Was it the poster?
The poster.
There you say.
The video club was just next door, I mean, to my school.
Oh.
You know, so I just entered, and it wasn't a very good movie. I mean, on the poster,
it wasn't worth missing
the actor
school
was
for.
with a gun, and you know, it attracted me.
That's
on
it.
the whole latter part, it was just like a Chinese series movie.
Oh dear.
Very slow.
And you think, why did I
very
miss
slow
school for
movie.
this? Why did I skip school for this one? Yes.
Yeah, so let's move on. We have so many stories.
Yeah, lots of
you
things
know,
to do. Yeah.
And we'll take a short break. After the break, then we'll delve into these stories. We'll be right back after the break.
QCell, the fastest growing network in the Gambia, now presents to you the eSIM. QCell's eSIM allows you to electronically scan a code and join the world of digital SIM cards. Customers with physical SIMs can easily switch to the eSIM as well. So rush now and get connected with an eSIM and start using the latest mobile technology with your trusted GSM operator. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sinubus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Get a QCell SIM card for free. Yes, absolutely free. Walk into any of our customer care centers and get a SIM free of charge. With a QCell SIM card, you can get the fastest and the most reliable internet plus wide range of amazing services. So rush now to any of our care centers and get a free SIM now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell Sunibus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Have you?
We are back. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Masuri Balde. Now let's move to the headlines on the Point newspaper. Survival of human trafficking narrates ordeals to ECOWAS Parliament. Yeah. We have the young lady here, you know, in front of the Point newspaper. Sinaritsa Odile to the ECOWAS Parliament. I mean, human trafficking is one of the things that most of these countries in our region are, I can say worldwide, not even the countries within our region, but these are things that we've been struggling with, and it needs a lot of combination of efforts to be able to mitigate its effects.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Mr. Mbowe was talking about documentaries. One that I watched over the weekend on Sunday was about America, the kind of from Mexico to the United States of America, where people have kind of set up a business to traffic people into the United States by you know, you pay them, and because the border is so long, you know, it's not quite porous, it's almost, but it's such a long border that there are many stages at which you can enter. And of course, in some cases, they've actually dug tunnels under from Mexico into the United States. And they've set up as a business to do that. So it is worldwide, as you say. And in this case, this young lady, Ami Job, has been relating her ordeal of being trafficked to the ECOWAS Parliament. They're going and they're collecting evidence from different countries, and including, obviously, from the Gambia.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, and then what next?
What
That's really the
what
point,
can
isn't
happen?
it?
What
So
can
what
they
can
do
they
about
do
it?
about that?
Because if you look at it, in spite of the fact that we're saying it's a problem here, many of our laws have not been adapted to actually tackle human trafficking. So you have to use all sorts of arcane laws that have been around forever about, you know, slavery and so on, to tackle it. We need to update our laws to actually have trafficking as an offence. I think we might have done so here in the Gambia, but I know it's one of the things that ECOWAS have been looking at, that they want these countries to update it to kind of keep up with fast changing situation.
That's it.
of
And
trafficking.
when we look at the U.S. State Department's reports on trafficking in
Yeah,
persons, they've even got an index, isn't it?
That's right.
Around this.
That's right.
So and our situation,
Tier 2.
Tier 2.
We're
So
good at-
that means, yes, we are
We're doing
making
some.
significant strides, but still we
Well,
haven't achieved
That's right.
what we should, really.
right. And
So
I
there is some issue. There is some issue.
Yeah,
It's a bit of a problem in here, and then we need to tackle
This
it.
is it. And I always smile when it comes out, because I always make the joke that, yes, the U.S. State Department is assessing other countries, but actually trafficking into America is quite, it's huge.
Exactly.
You know, they don't assess themselves.
I wonder
funny
how
enough.
do traffickers convince their victims to a level whereby, with all the informations that we hear about human trafficking, okay, now, I am pretty sure this young lady, we've been hearing about human trafficking for a long time, but still, people will be trafficked.
There are different elements to being trafficked. Some people are trafficked, you might say almost willingly. They pay the trafficker to traffic them from one place to another, because that trafficker would say, I have a good track record of getting people into, I don't know, wherever it is, you know, and they might have even been recommended by somebody. But it's an illegal practice, because you're transporting somebody to another country without, you're evading the sort of legal entry points to go to these countries, and you're doing that by saying, you know. So there are different ones. There are others who are trafficked to places because they're deceived. You know, they might say to them, look at these women, they're working in Dubai and they're earning good money and they're remitting lots and lots of dollars back to the Gambia. You could be one of them, you know. And then when you go there, first thing your employer does is take your passport, say, you know, I'm taking your passport. We've heard of these tales over the years. So that's, you know, there are different, 10, 15 different types of trafficking, as it were. You know, sometimes it's children, you know. So, yeah, there are many.
But let's talk about
Let's
the
see
laws.
what the issue is, and even the information
Yeah.
saying that whether the woman had heard about the, being trafficked and the like. The information we have about the back way has it stopped it.
It's about
So
the
it doesn't
very
work like that. Just because
example
you
I was
have
going to use.
information
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean that that will change behavior. This is the complex thing about human beings.
right.
As long as there's some flame there that keeps the dream of doing
Just
whatever alive,
on
it will keep on going
Saturday,
on.
I think, on Focus on Africa, they talked about recent deaths in the English Channel between France and hundreds
Yes, exactly.
have died this year alone. It doesn't stop anybody.
No.
They still think they'll make it. They still think they'll be the ones who will be successful. And that's all over the news. So you can't say you didn't see it, you didn't hear it. A lot of these people, they're on social media and so on.
How
Yeah.
effective are the laws deterring human trafficking in our sub-region?
I'm not sure they are very effective in terms of tackling it, and I think that's, as Mr. Mboji says, when the United States State Department puts out it says, you know, Gambia is doing a lot, but there's still a lot it needs to do, and some of it is to do with the laws, you know, and some of it is just to do with, you know, clamping down, because let's be honest, how many times have you read human traffickers sentenced to 15 years in prison or something like that? I mean, we know they exist, but are we prosecuting them to the full extent of the law? And what is the full extent of the law in terms of trafficking? I mean, those are the things we need to look at and strengthen.
That's it. And you know, the laws are as effective as their implementation.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that.
Absolutely.
And so this is it. Perhaps in areas where, in countries where they have a sound enforcement regime, maybe they might do better.
Yeah, quite.
You cannot eradicate the thing. There will always be a risk of it, one or two happening.
quite.
But you minimize the risks, don't
This
you?
is it.
And that's really what you can do. Be a buffer, as it were, to minimize the opportunities of
That's
things
right.
happening.
Very interesting message. Poverty leads most of them in it. I mean,
Second?
he said poverty leads most of these people to be trafficked. And when you are
Right.
poor, you are likely to be easily deceived.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
It's one of the things. As I said, you know, there are so many strands to trafficking, and I guess that kind of plays into the message and the discussion that we've been having, that people are promised lots of things. Because if you are in a poor economic situation and somebody says you can go and earn money, look at all these people in these countries earning money, you could be one of them, of course, then yes, you can be deceived into thinking, oh yeah, that could be me. I'll willingly go along with it, and essentially what you're doing is you're entering a kind of modern slavery. So yes, but there are many strands to being trafficked.
Absolutely. But I've sort of tried to put it this way. Okay, let's agree that poor people fall prey to being trafficked, stuff like that. Yes, but not not every person who is poor will necessarily fall for it.
Oh no, absolutely.
So this is quite
Oh, yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So to my mind, of course, it acknowledges the fact of poverty, but I think there are other values as well going on,
Yeah, quite.
because not every poor person will necessarily fall for it.
Yeah, quite.
So we must be quite subtle, nuanced
Yeah.
when we tackle, analyze
Well,
these
it's the
situations.
perception of the individual itself. I mean, it depends on the individual how you think. I mean, how you digest that information. You know, not necessarily you have to be poor to be trafficked. At some point, there are poor people who are definitely aware of the consequences of, you know, being trafficked.
Sure.
You understand?
And what I'm trying to run away from, there's an old argument, isn't it? Individual agency and system.
Yeah.
Socialists tend to blame the system, and you make it as if I do not have a
don't
choice
any-
at all.
Yeah, quite. Yeah.
This is very dangerous, and I see it in most of our discussions. We tend to take away individual agency and blame the system all the time. Therefore, there's no responsibility on my part. You can't blame me. It's the system.
Yeah, but this is
I
why
can't take that
this
either.
is why
I
sometimes
can't
I've
take that.
taken issue with
can't take that.
Bralde about the whole backway thing. You cannot say if you lined up 100 people who went on the journey, you probably find 100 different stories. There isn't one story, and we shouldn't say, oh, it's because of this.
Exactly.
You know, somebody who has a
Exactly.
business here,
Exactly.
who then goes on the back way, it's not the same as somebody who had no job here, and yet they've both gone on that back way journey. So don't simplify it. I've always kind of fought against that simplification of it. It's a very complex matter.
That's it. So let's take the subtle style in when we're thinking about these things, because they are complex.
It's complex matter.
To just sort of apply the hammer. You're either this or that. The false binaries that we create,
it's-
that's not sound.
It's
really.
not black and white.
Exactly.
There are shades of
I
grey.
don't also know how
Probably 50
international,
shades of grey.
how international bodies are effective in helping to combat you know, international cooperation? How is it helping to combat human trafficking?
I mean, well, national bodies and governments, and as what Mr. Mboji is on about agency, if we're saying that we can't do it ourselves, then why are we expecting international bodies to be able to help us? We must be doing something for them to be able to help us. And if we're not doing enough, then they're not going to help us, because they're like, well, it's your problem as much as anybody else's. What are you doing about it? Are you waiting for us to come and do it for you? Then no, there has to be that kind of, even the agency in a country sense.
Absolutely.
Like this country is taking steps, that country X is taking steps, this one is and this one isn't. So yes, we keep using the word because it's true, it's a complex
Yeah,
matter.
let's move on.
Yeah.
In connection with human trafficking, another headline is saying West African migrants attacked with live ammunition by Tunisian mob. Yes, it's all about trafficking, it's all about migration, it's all about the dangerous journey.
Yeah, dangerous journey. We've had horrific tales of what happens to our brethren from sub-Saharan Africa when they go to these countries above the Sahara, North African countries mainly, obviously. Some of them have had horrendous stories to tell and horrendous treatment. And of course people go there because from there they can cross to Europe. And in some of these Arab countries they're getting fed up of having sub-Saharan Africans come to their country. I don't know what the depth of this story is, but it's not the first we've heard such a story.
Exactly. I mean, whilst, you know, we compile the African News Roundup, so we've had stories over the years of how they're being treated, especially between Tunisia and Algeria, or whatever, something. There were lots of tension
that's
over
right.
there. So this identity thing, it's been around for a while, hasn't it? If not explicitly so, but that's the kind of undercurrent, isn't it? Are they Arabs? Are they Africans?
Well,
You
there
know,
was
that
just
sort of
about
thing.
3 years ago, FIFA wanted to put on this thing called the Arab Super Cup, and they wanted all the North African nations to enter, and CAF came down very hard on it.
The Arabs.
Say no, they are African teams.
See.
You cannot have teams in Yemen, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates playing against Morocco and you call it the Arab Cup. What next? The Francophone Cup? The Lusophone Cup? The Anglophone Cup? No. Why? So they killed it. It didn't happen. And FIFA had announced it was going to happen and so on. Cut it dead. Don't stand for that nonsense. They're African teams. They are physically part of the African continent. They will take part in African competitions. And that's the end of it.
All right, another interesting headline. China pledges $2 billion
To Ibrahim Abalde.
for
to Gambia. Okay.
Also to build hospital for State House. I don't have a problem with the $2 billion, but the hospital part, yes, I have a problem with it.
For State House.
Yes.
Why?
You know why? We just have RVH next to the Royal Victoria Teaching Hospital, next to the State House. So at the end of the time, what is going to happen? Are we going to transfer our patients from the Royal Victoria Teaching Hospital to the State House for treatment? Or at some point? What about before building that hospital, to enhance, our hospital, the one that we have already?
But anyway, you come in. What you've just said, is it factual? Who said that they're going to build the hospital, the State
For
House?
State
Who
House.
said it? Do you know the source? Can we source exactly
China
who said
pledges
that?
to build
It's the headline.
pledges
Yeah.
$2
It's a
billion.
headline. It's a headline.
And that's why sometimes we're a bit circumspect.
So
But
be careful,
this
be
one,
careful.
this one is in connection.
Be careful.
It's in connection with the China trip. You understand?
So
that's what
we're not saying
can
it's
say.
not.
That's
No. All we can say is that somebody has written a headline. There's one headline that is so rubbish we don't even dare read it out.
No,
so don't go by
But
that.
guys, you
Yeah.
have to understand. Read the headline again. China pledges $2 billion
we
for Gambia.
understand.
Also,
We understand. We can read
journalists.
English.
We know
Hospital.
We can read
headlines
English.
better
What
than you
he's
do.
saying is
Exactly.
that. What he's saying is that.
I'm not denying that.
What he's saying is that.
But
What
if-
is the source? Have you read
if
deeply
this,
into
if this
it?
is true,
You see?
Now you're
Now
saying.
you're
yes, if this is
talking.
true, I have a problem with the hospital.
If it's true.
Yes, I have a problem with the hospital part.
Because the thing is, look, that's why, you know, one almost doesn't want to comment because we don't know whether it's a hospital, whether it's a clinic, or it's just a medical facility inside State House so that people can be treated. If your president or one of his guests falls ill, you don't want to have to take them next door to RVTH or Edward Francis Small, as it's properly called. You can treat them inside. It's not unusual.
This is not a clinic. They
not
didn't mention clinic.
No, that's
They
what I'm
said
saying.
hospital.
We do not know the facts. Somebody might have
We are going
misrepresented it.
We are going by the headline of the paper.
And totally. And that's why I said don't take somebody else's headline as a fact. If it's true, yes, then you have a problem with it. But we don't know the detail.
All right, let's move on. Gambia's commercial transport sector gradually evading from Gambians.
Oh, I wasn't going to read that because I'm sorry whoever wrote that.
That's the Transport Union, Mr. Cisse, in front of the Point newspaper, saying
his picture.
I'm pretty sure what he's saying. You know, I think there are a lot of foreigners who are now involving in transport business in the Gambia, so to say. So
it might be that is what is meant by that, but the headline
evading.
It's evading Gambians. You know, is there anything stopping Gambians getting involved in it? Last week on this show, I mentioned about Julius Malema saying that, you know, in South Africa, his fellow South Africans were attacking these Nigerians who own, you know, hairdressing salon and barber shops. And he said, okay, you've driven them out now. How come none of you have opened hairdressing salons and barber shops? You know, these people they weren't taking any jobs from you. They were starting their own businesses and you were just jealous. You know, so we need to be careful when we say these things. What are the facts? Is it the case that this is true, you know, or is it just somebody's impression? Let's see the data and let's see percentages before one can say that this is what is happening.
Absolutely, I agree with that. It's only by giving us the data that really one can form a judgment. One can go through it and form a judgment. I heard some time back that actually a non-Gambian cannot drive commercial, is not allowed to drive commercial vehicles. My point is, do we have rules, regulations regarding this or whatever? Are we applying them? It's just as simple as that. What are the rules?
You know,
and
you mentioned in another context that laws are only
as
effective
as the implementation. It's
and sorry to say this, but every time this comes up, I think of the driving license.
Exactly.
The law says quite clearly 3 years, and yet the police enforce a 1-year rule and force us all to get a new license every year. So, sorry to say, but if the police don't even know the law they're meant to be implementing, then who's anybody else? So it might be the fact, but you and I know we get into a taxi or one of these gele types, and many of the drivers are not Gambians.
I engaged my police friend the other day.
But is there a law stopping that?
So it is the ineffective bureaucracy. That's really what the issue is.
My friend, it is supposed to be 3 years. And at the end of the year, you are forcing us to renew our driver's license. He said, yes, it's 3 years, but we are renewing at 1 year. You understand? So it's like the law is as good as its implementation.
Yeah, and for me, that's a very fundamental one. And there was a civil society organization that was going to test this in the courts. It didn't happen because the police said, and we're talking about 20 months ago, the police said, oh, they were going to come up and sort this out. But it still has not happened. And I think, honestly, I might be the one to test it in the courts because I think it needs to be. We need to hold people to account. And if even we can't even hold the police to account, then I'm sorry. So what hope is there for anything or anybody?
From what you're saying, if I am stopped on the traffic for expired license, can I challenge the police?
Tell them to take you to court.
Or let them take me to court?
Let them take you to
court.
court.
But I need to read a portion of the Constitution where it says 3 years.
I can print it and bring it tomorrow.
Please, can you
it's
do
there.
that for
it's
me?
as clear as black and white.
You're going to have a lawyer.
It's in black and white.
So you just need to be
clear.
Commonsensical and deal with your lawyer.
The law is quite clear.
You'll get
it
what
says
you
3 years. It's the law. It's not somebody's opinion.
No,
it's
at all,
the
at
law.
all. We've already discussed it.
And we've discussed it 100 times.
They all said.
So let them stop you. Let them tell them, let's see you in court.
Going back to citizens of other countries driving in the Gambia, commercial vehicle. I mean, it's not. It's been happening in the Gambia for a long time, but at some point they stopped everything. I've seen.
They stopped it
What do you
because
mean?
it's the law?
When was
No,
it?
there-
At what
there-
period they stopped everything?
There was a time, I cannot actually remember, but it's a long time.
But did they stop it because it's
I
the
can
law?
remember, in fact, they were on TV,
Right.
you know, talking about that.
You
So
mean what
what-
stopped?
You
There,
know,
there were no
foreigners-
foreign commercial
exa-
vehicle drivers.
Exactly.
How do you know that?
At
What
some
studies
point.
was done to
There
show
was
that?
there was a time they were on TV. I think I was much younger by then. You know, they were talking about that. They
Right.
don't want to see any foreign national driving in the Gambia commercial.
I don't
vehicle,
think you heard me.
you know.
Were they saying this because that is the law, or just because there was a public sentiment against foreign
That was
drivers?
the law.
That was
Yes,
the law.
so it
Okay.
was happening, and now they said we should stop it. I can remember there was a time I even entered. I realized the driver of the commercial vehicle is not Gambian.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
So those days, but I don't know for the reason
And
why.
you
they're
said
saying
to him,
now.
"I'm not aiding you in your illegality.
No, no,
I'm
no. I mean,
exiting this vehicle."
I mean, I don't have a problem with that. If you can
You
drive a
should have.
private vehicle in the Gambia, you can
right.
as well drive a commercial
one,
vehicle.
yes.
You
Right.
understand? It's
Well,
a
no,
matter of
because
how
for a
you
commercial
do it.
one, you're
We have
taking a
Gambians-
job away
We have
from.
Gambians
So it's not
driving.
quite the
Taking-
same. It
Yeah.
is not
It's not
quite
the
the
same.
same. You
Yeah.
must be subtle here. There was
Yeah,
a
right.
reason why if it is a
right,
law,
it's-
the law will be such that it will only prescribe commercial vehicles,
vehicles.
not private. As a
Quite.
private person, I can buy that. But there you're talking about employment jobs and all
Exactly.
of that.
Exactly.
There are certain jobs you, must
because
reserve
we
for your
we
people.
have Gambians driving commercial vehicles in Nigeria.
Oh,
We have
everywhere.
them.
Everywhere.
You understand? So I don't know what portion of the law said that, and why did they say that? You
Yeah,
know, but
and one of the reasons I was asking, I wasn't asking to be difficult, because one of the things that ECOWAS was meant to do away with was that if I have my license here in the Gambia, I can drive in any ECOWAS country, either as a private citizen or as a commercial, driving for a commercial, entity. So I'm not sure how they can make that stand up. But again, this just tells you why a lot of what we've tried to do with ECOWAS simply has not worked.
But this will be the problem, isn't it, Ade? So imagine country A, they've got very stringent regulation regarding the issuance of licenses, and they test everything, they're rigorous.
Yeah.
But country B, they know that that's
In other words-
easy.
in other words,
I can
Gambia.
just, I
That's
can
the
just go
Gambia.
and buy my license.
Quite.
Then they wouldn't be quite confident to allow you to drive in their country.
This is
So
it.
for these things to work, each of these countries must have certain standards. That's how it works within the EU. You must have certain standards that you can apply uniformly. But here, when you have this asymmetrical, as it were, things in place, then it's not going to work.
You know, as a manager in the United Kingdom, there was a time when we would interview people and they would have certificates from West Africa. In 1981, they stopped it because they said the cheating in West Africa was so rampant that they could not trust that people who presented certificates had actually sat the exams for the certificates. And they stopped. And up till now, you go with your Gambia, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, whatever, they don't even look at it. You might as well have toilet paper, because we so disgraced the institution and the exams that they're not worth the paper they're printed on.
When you devalue the currency,
This is it.
this is
That's
what
it.
happens.
And we don't
You
mean money.
devalue the
The
currency.
currency of that
currency.
paper.
Oh,
It no
God.
longer has the weight that it once had
Doesn't have the
up
weight.
to the 1980s. Because I remember when I was interviewing and they said, "Oh, sorry, across the civil service now, we don't recognize West African qualifications." I was quite embarrassed. Somebody who studied, part of my secondary school. in
probably
West
Mr.
Africa.
Mboj would be able to tell us. I mean,
Tell you what.
Probably I was in here. I was in here maybe during those days. But there was a time in the Gambia, the dollar was equal to the pound.
No. It was $5.
Is that so? $5.
That's why $5 is still, we still call it a pound.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it doesn't
The
even
pound.
mean $5
Okay,
is pound.
okay.
Bro, you're my pound. It
Wow,
means $5.
okay.
No, I mean, a lot of like the Sierra Leone, the Leone,
Pound,
up to
yeah.
the 1980s, certainly 1981, 82, it was 2 leones to the pound. And I used to go on holiday in Sierra Leone from the 70s right up to 1982, And I would go with my Leons and just walk into any bank in England and exchange it. Until when I went in 1983 and I presented, I was living at an area called Catford in South London, and they said, oh, we don't take Leons anymore. I said, what do you mean? They said, no, it's been devalued so much that we no longer, and also they were no longer attached to the sterling. Shaka Stevens had decided to take it out of the kind of.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
Yeah.
The Gambia government plans to seek approval from the National Assembly to deploy Gambian soldiers to Sierra Leone as part of the ECOWAS stabilization mission, as reported by the Standard.
Stabilization.
Yes.
Yeah. As you can imagine, the Sierra Leone government are not pleased about this. Because they said we're not at war, there's no civil war, there's no particular armed strife, what are they coming here to do? But ECOWAS has disregarded that and they've gone ahead. Even in Sierra Leone, I'm not sure anybody wants them, even the opposition, they don't see the point of them coming, other than to kind of embarrass the government. So they're welcoming them from that angle, but there's no heightened civil strife that they know they need to go there and stabilize. The last presidential election was quite contentious. Up to now, they're saying that it was rigged, it was stolen, and so on. But we've heard that in almost every election around the world, from the United States to whichever country you care to name, stick a pin in a map. The opposition is still saying that that election was blatantly and outrageously stolen. We've had one alleged coup attempt in which the former president Anis Bai Koroma was implicated, to the extent where he's currently out of Sierra Leone, he's in Nigeria. It's quite amusing because a couple of weeks before he was implicated in this coup, he was posting on his X or Twitter feed that he was out jogging and showing how healthy he was. As soon as he was charged, he had a serious health condition that required him not to be able to stand trial if he was brought to court. It always seems to happen. And he's now in Nigeria. I don't think, it's a shame because it probably means he'll never be able to go back to Sierra Leone without facing charge.
That's it. And here, ECOWAS, it seems to me that they're sort of flexing some muscle here. I was almost going to call it interventionist, but militarily, no, they haven't done it anywhere yet, except for us, and we are small. It was very easy for us to do this. So this will be quite interesting. It might, there's a threat of ECOWAS breaking up. In fact, the Sahel Alliance, they said they're no longer part of it.
But Burkina Faso have even removed the ECOWAS from their new passports, the ECOWAS logo from the new passports. Yeah.
So they appear to have been sort of energized by a new ideology of some sort. Being too interventionist, but they should be really very, very careful because these individual states, we are not really quite stable yet. Within our countries, we're still working on the formation, isn't it? The nation formation, national formation, we're still working on it. So once if they want to impose, you know what I mean, certain ideals, certain standards, I am not sure.
It's
that will depend on the state of preparedness.
Well, this is it. And some of the things they're trying to impose, for example, they want to impose a 2-term limit. Let each country decide something like that, because the countries are not all the same. We don't have the same either modern or colonial history. We don't have the same makeup in terms of our tribes within the countries and the dynamics and so on. So, they tried to impose that, and they've said it openly that they want there to be a kind of blanket 2-term limit across, because they think it's kind of promoting good governance. I'm not sure it is necessarily, but they want to impose that. And again, I'm not sure it's workable.
Exactly. I mean, a message from Don Williams, our regional correspondent in
Don.
Farafenye. The Don himself, he said, "Good morning. Who are foreigners?" Africans referred to as foreigners. Then, why do we have ECOWAS? And where is the integration of people?
Yeah.
Do they want non-Gambians to be beggars in their homeland? Africa.
Yeah, Africa is the homeland, and we can. I mean, this is a long-standing thing. I remember when Sékou Touré came to Sierra Leone and he was blasting Sierra Leone and saying, you have all these foreigners coming to your country and running businesses. Shaka Stevens mistook that, thinking because we'd had about 250,000 Fulas come because Sekou Touré was persecuting them, that's who he's referring to. But it wasn't. And Sekou Touré said, no, I don't mean the Fulas. He said, they are Africans. He said, what I'm talking about are the Europeans, the Lebanese, the Syrians, the Indians who come and they control your business. I'm not talking about the Fulas. I mean, one of the reasons he said that is because obviously he didn't want Sierra Leone to drive them back. He was quite happy that we had taken them in and taken them off his hands, as it were. But yeah, we promoted this thing, Pan-African, it is ECOWAS, this and that. It's mainly talk. The action betrays the reality that we're far, far from integrating and accepting things, and particularly if we pass laws saying non-Gambians cannot drive commercial vehicles.
That's it. But for me, my problem is this. I think that this is part of the Africa as a country trap. Africa is a continental identity. I'm not sure there's an ideological identity. Pan-Africanism tries to bring that about, but there's a problem for the educated. My grandmother didn't even go to school. My grandmother's got no idea what Pan-Africanism is. Let's be honest with that. This is really a problem for the educated. We know about these things. We've read, you know, we've led the liberation movement. All educated, university educated, in Nkrumahs and everything. Exactly. So to my mind, it's a dangerous, I'm putting myself in a box, running away from one stereotype, putting myself in another stereotype. There's an ideal we are working towards, but it's not a reality.
For me, I've never hidden the fact that one of the reasons I kick against it is by accepting the status quo, we're accepting these borders that have been imposed on us by the colonials. The minute you say, I'm a Nigerian, I'm a Ghanaian, I'm a Sierra Leonean, I'm a Guinean, and so on, and I'm stopping people from Gambia we've accepted, yes, the borders, they're a fact, but let's not buy into it to that extent where we're excluding others because you're from Guinea-Conakry and I'm from Sierra Leone, or you're from Liberia and I'm from Sierra Leone. Don't cross your border. Which border? I didn't put that border there. Let's not accept those borders to the extent where they kind of distance ourselves from each other.
It was borders,
and that's what.
But this is
I don't want to buy.
But this is but this is not true. When I go to pre-colonial Africa, where do I go as Mamadou Mbodj? Oh, I'm going back to the Wall of States. They were borders. They were names. They were political entities. So where do I go when I give away that national identity? Then I hold on to what identity?
Can you imagine if the Fulas or the Mandinkas said we have a country that's Fula? You'd stretch from one end, from Mauritania, all the way to Cameroon.
Fulani.
And you say, oh, that's the Fula state. Or the Mandinkas, the same. They cross every border in every ECOWAS country. You know, but there's no country like that. There's no country like that.
Even though, yes, then when you cross, there were border payments you pay to the king and vassals. I think it's a very complex.
The issues of this border thing, I mean, we Africans, we even take it even more serious than even those that created our borders.
That's my,
you know, there is easy
beef
movement
with it.
Maybe if you go to European countries, there is easy movement between country to country than moving from Gambia to Senegal.
Certainly within the European Union.
Within the EU.
Because
but
within the
must
EU,
also know not every country in Europe
is in the EU. Exactly. So within the EU, of course, you can just
exactly.
Go
so we have the police Fiaro
on
the line, you know, to talk about the recent
deaths
in URR.
Yes.
For the past months, we've been receiving a lot of death incidents. I mean, information in connection with people being murdered from URR. And this kind of a thing, it's news to me. I mean, it's not something that is usual.
Did you say a lot?
A lot,
yes. A lot of them. I mean, I can see this is
I
the
can
fourth.
name,
this is the fourth or the fifth.
Yeah,
you remember
in a country of 2.5 million
you remember
people.
the kids?
I know. Which kids?
The kids in Sotuma. Is it the Sotuma incident?
Which one
they
was
went
that?
swimming
No, that's people die.
It's
People
dead,
die in.
but it's dead incident.
Yeah.
You
No,
understand?
so
we have the PRO on the line. Let's
Why do you
talk
have
to
cemeteries?
the PRO. ASP Sisao, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing okay.
It's good to have you here.
My pleasure, always.
All right. So we want you to update us on the recent deaths in the URR. One murder incident and another one suicide in Sotuma.
Thank you. Yes, the murder is an alleged murder, actually. As far as the police is concerned, we've investigated, and we had a suspect, and the suspect confessed to have committed the crime involving a 14-year-old boy.
Okay.
Because the boy is believed to be stubborn according to his narration, and he has not always been at home. So in the course of disciplining the boy, unfortunately, he was beaten to death.
Okay.
And so the case is currently was mentioned in court, the magistrate court in Basse, and it was transferred to the criminal division of the High Court because the magistrate does not have jurisdiction to hear the murder case. So as far as we know, this is the situation at the moment, and the alleged murderer or the accused is already remanded, is in custody, while awaiting for the proceeding of the hearing to start at the High Court. That's for the Makunda case, the alleged murder. For the Sotuma case, actually, it's a very, a woman, a lady who is married in a compound after having served the family, according to the report, in the evening after having served dinner, is when she went into the house. And if she was not out for a while, then one person went there for a business in the house and found her hanged herself at the roof of the house. So called for support. They came and untied her, and took her to the hospital. And nearby hospital, then it was taken to Basse Hospital. So basically, unfortunately, she could not make it. She also died. The body has been transported to RVTH for post-mortem because it's important to be able to establish whether it's an alleged suicide or actually it's a suicide. So at the level of the police, usually when incident occur, so people who are, that's the same thing that happened to this Sotuma case, the Makunda case. So the people who brought the body or the dead body were the people who the police actually had to get hold of to be able to get to the bottom of the investigation, to get started with the investigation, actually to determine whether it's suicide or there is anything that may a foul play. But at the moment, there seems not to be any of such
foul play.
As far as a foul play, as far as the investigation is concerned. So we are currently relying on the post-mortem, the medical report, to be able to tell us. Actually, one of the first report that it was indicated, or the cause of death, which is obvious, is asphyxiation. Asphyxiation is more or less depriving. It's a process where depriving, because we are aware that if somebody tied the neck, there will be no passage of oxygen, and as a result, the body will be deprived of oxygen. So in essence, that's the preliminary cause of death. However, the post-mortem will go into detail to be able to say whether, whether actually this is suicide or there is a foul play, at least in a way. It may not be. Basically, that's it. I wouldn't want to go into detail of analyzing the report, since that's not within my expertise, but this is the situation at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, PRO. We are out of time, and thank you for updating us on the program. And we hope to engage you on the, more on this program.
Thank you. I hope it wouldn't be about murders again.
Yes.
Well, PRO,
we
just very quickly, we might engage you tomorrow, because tomorrow is one of those UN days, and the day tomorrow is International Suicide Prevention Day, and that's tomorrow, 10th of September. So we might engage you on that, and it might be an opportunity to give a message to the public.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the police PRO there, ASP Sisao, talking to us on QTV this morning. Now we'll take a short break. Mr. Ade, thank you very much for reviewing these stories with us. Interesting.
Some very interesting
stories. Sure. Yeah, so we'll take a short break. After the break, we'll engage Jibril Gando Balde, Health Communication Officer, Minister of Health, on the MPOX. We'll be right back.
Have you been looking for the perfect indoor router with long-range Wi-Fi coverage and faster internet speed connecting all your smart devices? Well, we present to you the QCell Indoor Router, a router that has all you need and much more. For just $4,275, you can get 4G plus internet speed, wide coverage, and connect up to 15 devices. And that's not all. The indoor router can be used for both office and home needs. So, enhance your internet experience with our indoor router. For more info, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sinubus, we innovate, others follow.
With so many things to do in a single day, it's important to have a network you can trust. When there's family and friends to connect with and business calls to make, you need a network that is reliable and fast. Talk longer, browse faster, go farther, and roam wider. When your network is solid, the world is your oyster. QCell, your trusted network in the Gambia.
Do your banking the smart way with the new Ajibank mobile app. Transfer money to any bank account in the Gambia. Top up airtime for all networks. Pay utility bills. Check your account balance and view mini statements. Request for ATM cards. Request for checkbooks and more in a single touch. So, do your banking in a smart way. Do your banking now with Ajibank mobile app. Every time is banking time. Ajibank, your investment partner.
Yeah, we are back. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Suri Balde. Now let's move on to other stories again. And this discussion will be centered on MPOX, and we have Jibril Gando Balde here. He doesn't need an introduction, but I'm Harit. Yeah, so it's good to have you here, brother. How are you? How have you been?
I'm very good, Balde, and Mr. Mboj, I thank you for having me in this morning at QTV. It's been a pleasure. It's been a while, though.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
Since now we are in another outbreak, I know I'll be frequenting
absolutely,
around.
you'll be coming over. Yeah, so please take us through the MPOX outbreak.
Okay, thank you very much, Balde, and our wonderful viewers. Mpox basically is a viral zoonotic disease, and when we say viral zoonotic disease, this is caused by a virus, and that virus is known as Mpox. That is the originally formerly known as monkeypox. But due to the stigma and other things, now it is referred to as the Mpox instead of the monkeypox. But this disease was first identified in Congo, DRC, formerly Zaire, in 1970. And since then, it have been, making sporadic, outbreaks from time to time. But when you look at it, in 2003, it was first also confirmed in the Americas, where it was linked to importation of wild animals from Africa, because that is the main reservoir of the virus. It was first identified in animals, then it transferred from animal to human transmission. So when you look at the history of the disease, since 1970 to 2023, it have brought around 5 to 6 outbreaks, because in 2003 it was in America, and then in 2005 it was back in West Africa, Nigeria, and then in 2017 UK had their first case, and 2022 also in Europe, some parts of it. They have almost 35 EU countries reported confirmed cases. So, but from 1st January to 3rd September 2024, which the year we are in, we have registered 24,940 suspected cases in the whole world, and confirmed cases included 5,432 cases are confirmed. And this is out of the 24,940 who are suspected. And when we say suspect, either you have one of the following or two of the following signs and symptoms, which is fever, swollen lymph nodes, and rashes. And this rash is basically, some starts with the face, some with the hands, and then it covers the body. So, and that is the main mode of transmission of the virus, because if somebody is having this disease and then he have these rashes, and these rashes, these lesions, when they break and then you have a contact with the person and skin to skin, it can be transferred to you. If somebody who is wearing his or her clothes got infected with the lesions of the monkeypox, then that also clothes also can be a medium for you to catch the virus. So out of the 5,432 confirmed cases in Africa, we have 639 deaths. That is the total number of deaths in Africa as of 1st January 2024 to 3rd September 2024. And these 639 deaths of 5,432 cases were reported in 14 countries. And among these countries that have reported these cases as of now from 1st January to 3rd September 2024 includes Burundi and DRC, where it was first, identified the virus, that is DRC, Congo, Zaire. And then you also have Cameroon reported cases, Central African Republic, you have Guinea, that is Guinea, Conakry, Ivory Coast, Gabon, Liberia, you have Kenya, Nigeria, Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Uganda, and now South Africa. So what this is telling us is that because when you see a disease that is going country to country, there is need for it to be seen as a public health emergency of continental concern.
Exactly.
That's why the Africa CDC first declared on the 13th of August that this monkeypox now is a public health emergency of international concern or security.
Gando, let's talk about the initial symptoms of mpox.
Yes.
What can you identify from the individual to know, okay, this is what is happening?
Yes, what we are looking at here is rashes. These are the more visible signs and symptoms that you can see. But there are other symptoms which cannot be definitely seen because it also resembles other diseases. It mimics like, malaria, the fever. Fever is in malaria, fever is in, many conditions. So, but still fever is also another, and headache also is another one, and swollen lymph nodes. Swollen lymph nodes meaning, like, for example, when you have a tear or a wound at your leg below, you feel something in your groin.
Yes.
And those, reaction that makes you to feel something in your groin, that is what is called the lymph node. Sometimes you feel it here. So there are certain body parts where we have lymph nodes. And this is a sign of the body trying to respond to a negative, virus or a virus outside, or even something that is outside the environment that is trying to enter the body. So these are signs that people can see at some point, but certain times you cannot see them because it might be hidden. So the main sign that can be visible is the rash, which sometimes it's happens with the hands, and it also spread in the face, and then it covers the whole body. And this is what makes mpox very unpleasant for the eye, because when somebody is having mpox, the disease, I mean, you can see these rashes all over their body, and at some point the rashes will start to, you know, break, and then there will be pus coming out of these, so it's very unpleasant. So these are some of the visible things that you can see, but it includes also headache, you know, muscle pain, you understand,
okay,
and other general body pains,
and
you
it's
know,
transmitted.
which cannot be seen because muscle pain and others cannot be seen, but the lesions, that is the rashes, those are very visible and they can be seen.
Who does this affect? I mean, when you talk about mpox, the mental picture that you have is children.
Yes, but it is known to affect, you know, the whole population. When you look at it, it affects children, it affects adults. So when it affects children and adults, that's the whole population, but it also have a specific, you know, likeness for people who have weak immunity, people who are immunocompromised, as we call them, or people living with comorbidities, like if you are having diabetes, you know, cardiac problems, you know, and high blood pressures, you understand, or cancers. So it can be susceptible, you can be susceptible to the disease because your immune system is already struggling with other forms of diseases or infection. So, but children are also known to be very highly vulnerable because of the case fatality rate among children is higher, you know. So we can say children and people who have comorbidities. Yeah.
Absolutely. When this current outbreak, when news of it first broke out, this was in DRC, wasn't it, this new strain?
Yeah.
And suddenly you're talking about in West Africa here, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, and all the rest.
Yeah.
So how are we preparing? Because it's almost as if it's knocking on the door.
Yeah.
Kind of. So how are we preparing?
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. Since the Africa CDC announced or declared that this mpox is a public health emergency of, you know, continental, you know, security or concern, so you can see that have triggered all countries in Africa, because now, thank God that we have the Africa CDC, because when you look at it with the COVID, it was WHO who declared. So now Africa as a whole, as a continent, have come to a stage that where it have realized that it needs its own, you know, disease, you know, control, you know, institutions, and that is why we have the Africa CDC. That is created by the AU, that is the African Union. So since on the 13th it was declared that this is an outbreak that is of public health emergency of the whole continent, and it can threaten our security. So the following day, that is on the 14th, WHO also followed with a statement to declare this as a public health emergency of international, you know, security. So that's why, since that, all countries have triggered their response. So as a ministry, what we do is to make sure that we have a coordinated, you understand, mechanism response, just like we had in the COVID, whereby we will be working with stakeholders, partners, WHO, Africa CDC, Global Fund, Gavi, you know, those who are responsible for bringing in the vaccines, and we have local stakeholders like the Red Cross. We have, you know, many institutions who were formerly part of the task force or the response team with the COVID. So we just activated, you know, that team, because what we have in the country, we also have the Public Health Emergency Operation Center. And when you look at the whole response, is chaired by the Minister of Health himself, who is the chair of the whole response for the Gambia at national level. And then you also have the Public Health Emergency Operation Center manager, who also coordinates all response activities. And in the response, we have different pillars. And those pillars are set into committees. Because when you look at the committee that I belong to, which is the Risk Communication and Community Engagement, who have the strategic objective of making sure that, you know, we help communities to be aware, you know, to be prepared, to know the signs and symptoms, and to also know where they can get the, you know, required services. Like if you want
you have supposedly have a suspect, what are you going to do? How are you going to refer? Which clinic or hospital are you going to refer for testing? We have identified all these things. So we have the risk communication and community engagement pillar, that is the committee. We also have a committee that is for leadership and coordination. You understand? So that's where you have the Public Health Emergency Operations Center manager who will be coordinating all other committees. We also have the Surveillance Committee, and this Surveillance Committee, their role for them is to make sure that they integrate MPOX under the surveillance of the Gambia, to make sure that if there is any suspect, that is anybody who is fitting the criteria that we are looking for as far as the case definition is concerned, whether you are having these 3 or 4 or even 2 of the signs and symptoms that I have mentioned earlier, then you will be put under surveillance. Then your samples will be collected and it will be forwarded to the National Public Health Laboratory, which is also its own component, you understand, to make sure that they are also equipped. And the best thing, or the good news here is, during the COVID, when it first struck, we didn't have the lab capacity to test in the country. But since MPOX, we have the capacity now to test MPOX in country, because the test that was done for the coronavirus, which is the PCR, is almost the same, parameters that they're going to use to test MPOX, which is the quantitative PCR, and that is already available in the country.
So all the relevant institutions have been activated?
We have been activated, and then they have revised their action plans, strategic action plans, to make sure that they respond to this effectively. So the health risk communication, the leadership and coordination, the surveillance, the laboratory, the infection prevention and control. You also have continuity of services as a committee, because we don't want to also, at the event that this thing arrive in the country, people start to panic like what happened in the COVID, and they start to run away from continuity of services for people who are diabetic, who are hypertensive, children who need to go to the clinic monthly to get their vaccinations. All those services also, there is a committee to make sure to ensure that those services continue regardless of what the outbreak outcome is. And thank God that as of now, we have got 9 people as suspects, but we have tested all those people, and thank God, as of now, we don't have any positive case or any confirmed case from the Gambia. But regardless, we have cases within our sub-region, because when you talk of Guinea, when you talk of Nigeria, when you talk of Liberia, people wake up in Liberia and sleep in Gambia. People wake up in Nigeria and sleep in Gambia. So that's why it is very important for everybody to be very vigilant at this moment, to help the Ministry of Health to ensure that we have mechanisms to put a hold onto the spread of this virus into the country.
Do we have a toll-free number? I mean, we are out of time, Gando. I wish we had.
Yeah, the toll-free number, as you know, is there, 1025, and it's there to stay. Since updating COVID, we have people who have now assigned to that office, more than 20 people, and they go on a different shift, morning, afternoon, and night. So the 1025, anybody who have a suspected case or anything you want to ask or inquire, just call
the number 1025. It is free,
regardless of the number you are using.
Thank you. Gando, thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure.
We appreciate your time.
I
mean, for giving us this opportunity to highlight on the MPOX. We'll engage you further, on another program, inshallah. Yeah, so viewers will take a short break. After the break, Mamadou Gajaga will be here to update us on the Gambia-Tunisia game and other things happening in the world of sport. We'll be right back.
The future is now with QCell's 5G network. Experience speeds like never before with our new 5G Rocket Fixed Internet plan. Get speeds from 10 Mbps to 100 Mbps. Your 5G-enabled devices. Walk into QCell headquarters to get one of our 5G routers and experience the true feeling of 5G. Only with QCell. QCell brings you the future. Tech, innovation, incredible speed. The future is now. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Looking for the perfect place to promote your product or place your advert? Look no further than QTV. We are the premier destination for businesses looking to connect with Gambian audiences and beyond. At QTV, we offer a variety of advertising solutions to suit your needs and budget. With our diverse range of programming, you can be sure that your ad will reach a broad and engaged audience. From our popular news broadcast to our exciting music and entertainment programming, QTV has something for everyone. QTV, the premier destination for advertising in the Gambia. Contact us today and let us help you reach your audience.
This is QTV This Morning. Now to the last segment of this program. Let's talk about the Gambia-Tunisia game yesterday. And we have Momodu Gajaga in the studios. Gaj, good morning.
Good morning, Balde.
It's good to have you here.
Always a pleasure to be here.
So what's happening? What's happening, Gajaga?
Defeat for Gambia in the Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, Morocco 2025 against Tunisia. It was a home game for the Gambia, but away from home. The match was played in Morocco. Tunisia took the lead in the 11th minute of the game. The Gambia responded through Ali Sow, his first competitive goal for the Gambia in the 15th minute. And then in the second half, Tunisia managed to score a second goal, and eventually that goal stood as the winning goal. So out of two matches in Group A, Gambia drew one. That was last Wednesday against Comoros. And for Tunisia, who are currently on top of the group, had 6 points because they won their first game against Madagascar 1-0. And then the yesterday victory 2-1 against Gambia made them have 6 points in the group. So currently, as it looks, not looking good for the Gambia.
Not looking good.
As far as their quest for a third consecutive Africa Cup of Nations qualification is concerned. So 4 more matches to go. All these 4 matches will be played in October and November. We'll have 2 matches in October. That's next month. And then in November also 2 matches. Our next 2 games is against Madagascar away, and we play against them home. And then we will have Comoros, and then we will play against Tunisia away. So 12 points to play for. But at least in this 12 points, Gambia should get 9 to have any chance of qualification. So, because we have a single point. For you to qualify to the AFCON, because you either have to be the group winner or the runner-up. So the top 2 spots in each group that qualifies to the AFCON. So currently, it doesn't look good. But if we can get 9 points in the last 4 games, tough as it is, then we will have to do it the hard way to qualify for AFCON. But otherwise, it looks really, really grim so far.
So, but what happened? What happened yesterday? Was it that we were just not good enough?
Absolutely not. Far from that. If you watch the game, especially in the first half, we had more opportunities than Tunisia. That's in terms of scoring opportunities. When they scored in the 11th minute and Gambia responded just almost immediately 4 minutes later, it was all Gambia for about 15 minutes or so, sustained pressure. In fact, at some point, Tunisia, it appears the Gambian team was virtually unplayable. They couldn't kind of sustain the pressure, conceding corners, free kicks. Yankuba Minte on the right-hand side was doing some cuts, taking on defenders. In fact, that was the result of the goal, the Gambian equalizer. And then aside from that, on the left flank also, Aliou Fadera dribbled past 1 or 2 players and then cut inside the box, sent in crosses. And just before the first half whistle, Yankuba Minte had a one-on-one with the keeper, but straight into the hands of the keeper. Aside from that, another chance fell to Aliou Fadera. In the second half also, at least 2 chances for the Gambia before Tunisia eventually got that goal, and which stood at the end of the day. Quite disheartening with the performance. The performance does not really reflect the score. That's why in football, chances are hugely important. Yes, not every chance is scored in a football game, but if you have 5, 6, 7, 8 chances, you're expected to at least better 2. But in the Gambia situation, this has been consistently happening in the last 3-4 games.
Just one more thing. I think it's a bit too early to see what I call the McKinstry effect.
Effect, yes.
But his team so far has played the Comoros.
Yes.
And with this one, any discernible differences from Tom, for instance?
Hugely different. So for McKinstry's philosophy is for the team, his players, to enjoy themselves in the game, keep possession, attack with intensity, high pressing. In the end, produces chances. And for him, if these chances are, executed into goals, then eventually it is highly likely his team is going to score more goals than the opposition. So if that happens, he doesn't mind kind of conceding, in as much as, you should be resolute in defense. But right now, his philosophy or his style of play is also exposing the defense. So rather than to be able to close the gap, the Tom Samphier style of play, which is very conventional way of defending. Yes, everybody behind the ball, until when we're in possession of the ball, then we attack. In counter-attacking football, if we get a goal, we still defend very well. So that's used to be the Tom Samphier style. It's completely contrasting style of play.
That's it. So here it seems that you're telling me that with the McKinstry style, just score goals, then it will work.
Yes.
Because it's working.
Exactly.
You're creating the chances, but you're not scoring goals.
You're not scoring goals. So far, that's been the case.
Don't you think it will take time for our players to be used to his new style of play?
That happens everywhere in the world of football. A new coach comes with a new philosophy. It takes time
before they adapt
to the system. So, but the danger here is now Gambia qualified to Africa Cup of Nations twice in succession.
And what about
anything less than qualification is not good enough.
That's the thing here.
I can tell you, if we missed out on qualification, this coach is gone, because that's the minimum. That's the prerequisite.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the reason why he was hired, to get us to AFCON. I know the World Cup, that's way beyond us, because we already
AFCON,
lost.
We must be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, there's something that I want you to make me understand. You said Gambia played home.
Yes.
This is home.
Yes, home match played away.
But it's not home.
Yeah, because our Independence Stadium is not good enough to host international matches.
They played somewhere.
Yeah.
So what does it mean it's home for Gambia?
Yes, it means home because on paper, it's Gambia's home game. They are like Team A.
Okay.
And then, even when it comes to jerseys, it's the Gambia who put on their home jerseys yesterday, which is the red jersey and the blue shorts. So that really signifies that they played a home game. And just so unfortunate, Morocco is closer to Tunisia than Gambia is closer to Morocco. So their fans outnumbered the handful of Gambian fans who were there.
Well, it's crazy. And that comes back to our officials. Our Independence Stadium. They should take a look at it. It's an advantage for the boys.
So there's been some renovation work for quite some time now. But
whether we are qualified to play there.
Yes, that's the thing. If the renovation works are completed, it has to get approval from the Confederation of African Football to confirm that, we can play our home matches there. Until that happens, maybe Morocco will still continue to be home. And Morocco has been home for the last 2 years or so, because even in the last qualifiers, our home game against Congo, we played it in Morocco, and that was the game in which Gambia got a 2-2 draw, eventually sealed our qualification.
Thank you, Gajaga. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for updating us on this program. And, we wish the Gambia a good luck. Hopefully, we'll be able to get our 9 points.
Hopefully. Yes. Looking forward to it.
So, Mr. Mboch, thank you very much. We'll come back here tomorrow. I don't know if you will be back here.
Well, I'm not sure either.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you for following this program. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Until we come here again tomorrow, have a wonderful day.